without any further ado, we're going to roll right over here into the demos with Brittany and Lindsay. And I'm going to turn this over to my daughter-in-law, Brittany, and our good friend, Lindsay Stetson. So take it away, you guys.
Thanks. Good evening, ladies.
Hi, guys.
This is my girlfriend, Lindsay, and I first met Lindsay years ago. She was working with Christopher at a design firm, but she is now a freelance graphic designer, and she's very, very talented. She also curates the website mstetson.com. It's Stetson, like the hat.
The cowboy hat.
The cowboy hat. And it's a design lifestyle blog. She has great entries on there, all about architecture and interior design. She has some do-it-yourself posts on there. She has photography, just some great stuff by her.
Thank you.
And she loves all things photography, all things design. When she's not designing, you'll find her behind her own do-it-yourself table. She makes these polymer clay tags that are amazing. We'll show you in a little bit. Or she's behind her camera because she's an inspiring photographer too. I think I mentioned that. But she lives in Orange County, but she's originally from the Pacific Northwest, which I learned is Seattle.
Seattle, Portland.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, but the weather's better down here.
It is.
Okay.
It's been 8 years. My family, I think, has conceded.
Okay.
Yeah.
So today she's going to show you how to do these terrariums, and they are really cool. We have a couple examples here, but I'll let her sort of explain.
Yeah, so I was really honored when Brittany asked if I would maybe help put together a little DIY demo for all of you guys. On my blog, as she mentioned, I've done a few different DIY projects, and I talk about pretty much anything that I love visually, and by far my terrarium posts have been kind of my most popular, so I thought this would be a really great opportunity to kind of show people. I was really intimidated when I first started them, but you will see literally an air plant terrarium takes 5 minutes. So I really hope that you guys will give it a try. And the first thing that you really need to consider is your container. We're going to be talking a little bit about air plant terrariums, which you've seen them probably. They were pretty big, I think, in the 70s, as were succulents.
I had never seen them before. But
yeah, so they're really drought resistant, and they're great for black thumbs like me versus the green thumbs. So yeah, so we'll talk about that. But because they like drier environments, you just need to make sure your container does not have a lid. So they need that extra airflow and sunlight. So they have really cute and whimsical little containers like this. This one was found at TJ Maxx Home Goods. It has a little hole there for access to put everything in there, but kind of a fun little take on that container. You could use a hurricane candle or whatever that might be, trifle bowl or something like that. And I mean, how sweet to have like a little mini one, maybe next to the big one.
Everything's cute mini.
Yeah, I know. So cute. So anyway, so to get started, we're going to go ahead and use this. For the air plants, when you're selecting your air plants and your succulents or deciding between the two, pretty much succulents can be planted in sand, or I also brought to show you palm and cactus soil. It is really good for drainage. They need a lot of drainage. They don't want too much water, so it's important to try to find this if you can. And I found that at Home Depot, but Armstrong's or any garden center should have that too.
But specifically the cactus mix,
yes,
not the regular
that
soil.
works. Yeah, that works best. But and then for air plants, as their name entails, they actually don't need soil. So you may have seen them mounted on a little piece of wood or something like that. So they can literally go as is. You could just set it in a cute little bowl if you wanted to, and all would be well. But for this circumstance, we really kind of like the sand, and this is found at a craft store. They do sell horticultural sand. I don't really know what the difference is, but this was a little less expensive, so I went this route.
Or since we live by the beach, like beach sand, that works?
Yeah.
Sandbox sand.
extra. So,
Borrow.
yeah.
Put it back when you're
Borrow
done.
it. So for this, I think I really like the peaks and valleys that just kind of pouring the sand into the container creates. I like, as I mentioned this morning, I kind of like that perfectly imperfect look. And I think it adds a little bit more interest to have some of that variation in height. So you can kind of shift it around or move it. It's kind of creating some dust right now, but to kind of get it how you'd like it. I also use rocks sometimes for just added interest, and I think it's important to kind of have different textures that you can use. So, you know, if you have one color of sand, you can kind of opt for a complementary colored rock. I like things in thirds or odd numbers. It's the designer in me, yeah. Asymmetrical for sure. So, as I mentioned, just creating a little bit of
Where do you find these air plants?
variation. I found these at Home Depot.
Okay.
These were all about, I think, $3 to $5. You can find them online, which we're going to have a PDF for you all to be able to download with some of my favorite little resources and online shops. Etsy.com is an amazing place to find air plants. They're really popular right now. And you can find some really interesting and unique colors and kind of sculptural shapes.
This one's orange. I don't
Yeah,
know if they
so
can get a
this
close-up on
one-
it, but that's very cool.
Let's see if I can point
Zoom
it that
in
way. I
there.
don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can see just the beautiful variegated leaf on that. But yeah, so what I pretty much do, this is how easy this is. I just kind of decide where I want it and just put her on in. Like it's very simple. It's not anything to be intimidated by. Again, because there aren't long roots, you don't really have to be concerned about how deep you're planting them in. But again, I think just something like that, and you start to kind of create a little interest. If you want to use succulents, which is more along the lines here, it's a little bit more labor intensive, but usually you want a layer of rocks, horticultural charcoal, which helps filter the water as you drain, and then that palm and succulent soil in there. And then I, again, just kind of place them in there as is. I like a little variation in the color and the texture, so that's really great. And then as we move on, I think really the next step that I like to do is add some kind of decorative elements. So this is where I feel like you can really personalize it for your recipient. So for instance, Brittany's recent nuptials, we had a shower for her, and I created, out of the polymer clay that I use as well, a little clay tag that says Brittany and Robbie. I don't know if I'm tilting it right so you can see that. But it just is a nice way to, thoughtful way to personalize it, I think, for your recipient. And then we made a little one for the girls. So there's Stella, Lucy, and Gianna in here as well. So they can learn to
And they love it. They mix it
maintain
up.
their
They play with the
little
sand
garden, too.
and replant the
Yep.
stones. You can't mess it up. So
You really can't. And in terms of watering, we discussed this too. You can use a little spray bottle and just kind of spray it on each of the plants if you'd like, maybe 1 to 3 times a week. You'll start noticing if it starts to dry out, the little tips will start to brown a little bit.
I'm guilty.
As we've both experienced.
Yeah.
So another option is just taking the plant out completely, finding a little vessel and soaking it overnight in water. I've done that sometimes too to get it back, a little perk it up a bit.
They liven up.
Yeah.
And if you do that, it's not as often, right? Maybe once a week or once
Yeah.
every couple weeks?
Yeah,
Okay.
I think so. And it really probably depends on the room that you put it in and the amount of light,
Makes sense.
air conditioning, things like that would dry out your space. But if you just keep an eye on it, I think, again, I am not a green thumb by any means, and I've been able to keep mine alive for quite some time. And worst case scenario, it dies. You just take that out.
Nice little thing.
Ta-da!
Freshen it up. Oh, I like that one.
Yes. So we like things easy. So
Okay.
with that,
So what are some fun stuff you can put in there?
yeah, so I was thinking about what a great activity this would be with your kids. Again, just fun little ways to have little projects, keep them busy throughout the summer. I found these little dinosaurs at the dollar store. And I thought, how sweet if you just, plopped one in there or something like that. I think.
I love this deer. It's gold. She painted it gold.
Yes, so I
kind of
found
the
this
same
deer
idea.
at Michael's, and I had some gold acrylic paint and some glitter, and I just slopped it on there, to be honest. It was pretty messy.
But
And
it's
I just thought it's, again, another sweet, thoughtful way to personalize it for your friends.
Housewarming gift or something.
Yep, housewarming, birthdays.
Yeah.
Yeah, so for this one, I think we're going to kind of think in terms of a birthday. So are you guys familiar with washi tape? All right.
Washi tape. So where do you get washi tape?
I buy mine on Etsy, but
Okay.
again, I'll include the link. But you
Okay.
can find it at Paper Source and different stationery shops. It's a Japanese tape, and most of them have prints and patterns on them, and they are amazing. So if you want to wrap a gift, like throw a little crisscross of washi tape, and all of a sudden
They come in
looks
all
brand new.
colors and
All colors, floral
designs.
patterns, metallics. So what I did, I'm always finding new ways to use my washi tape, is I took a little baker's twine and made a little pendant and just trimmed it, if you can see it.
so you just folded the washi tape over and then snipped.
Snipped
The
the
little
ends,
V
and I
and-
thought kind of a fun
great.
little accent to put in here, maybe around,
On some toothpicks?
around
or
my little guy here.
flat toothpicks? Is that what those are?
Yeah, and I just had little toothpicks, I think either from the craft store or they might have been in my kitchen. I don't even know where I found them. But you could just place that in there to add a little interest in color. If your friend has a favorite color, you could use that. I also took the washi tape, again, folded it over, but the other direction, and just put a little message on it that says, "Oh, happy day." So when they look in there, just kind of a fun little accent.
And then I love these. What are these?
Yes, so these, especially with air plants, since you're not even needing to water in the container, dried flowers can be a great accent piece. So these are billy balls.
Okay.
I don't know how to pronounce the Latin for them. So, but dried billy balls, and again, you could find those on Etsy or floral shop. And again, since you don't have to water, you can pretty much just add them in there for some interest. Go for it wherever you think. And voila, we have our little terrarium.
That's so adorable. And what's the price difference if you were to buy one of these,
Yes.
like in a store? I've seen them in magazines as opposed to just making your own.
Yeah, terrariums have really kind of come back in style over the last few years. Most of it is probably dependent upon your container. So I found all of my containers at TJ Maxx Home Goods.
Okay.
I think maybe even one came from the 99-cent store. A cup, mason jars for my kitchen. I just get resourceful. Anything glass container I can turn into it. But you can find like a hand-blown terrarium container, probably upwards of $250.
Okay.
And some of those are beautiful, and they're handmade, and so that is great for them. But I, unfortunately,
More
or
practical.
fortunately, try to keep my budget a little bit lower. So I would say something like this that we just did here. This container was $16.99 with the 2 air plants. We're probably looking at around $30, $35 maybe.
Awesome.
So I think it's a great gift, and we can do something really creative for our friends, but still be good stewards with our money. So,
And then how do you wrap it up? Let's see.
yes.
Let's see
So
the finishing
I think
touches.
what Brittany and I love is gift wrap, and so obviously a container like this is a little difficult to use gift wrap with, but I think just finding beautiful ribbon. This is just a cotton twill, and I found this, I believe, at a fabric shop actually, and I just might use a little bit of double stick tape on the bottom, and you could
On the bottom of the container?
Yes,
Okay.
to hold that in place since it's round. But you could just do a little bow. You could tie it up both ways if you wanted. And just probably trim that end. And I found a little letterpress coaster that I had, I think from a local stationery shop. And on the back, I just wrote some instructions on how to care for the piece.
Very
Don't mind my
resourceful.
messy finger or handwriting.
Using things from your house?
Yes, so I think it's just a matter of really being considerate of what the recipient would like, and kind of course, I love to do things. I'm behind the computer all day, so any excuse to be creative but be getting my hands dirty and away from a glowing monitor, I really appreciate.
Yeah. Okay, and then show me these packages here. What?
Yeah, so you mentioned one of my little do-it-yourself projects that got me off the computer was polymer clay. I don't know if you guys remember polymer clay or used it, but you can roll it out and make beads with it or anything like that. So I use little cookie cutters, and I stamp letters in them. So
adorable.
for instance, this could be used in a wedding or...
Which I heard you're getting featured maybe in a Martha Stewart
Yep, they'll be on
magazine coming up,
in
ladies?
the fall issue of Martha Stewart Weddings. So
that's exciting.
we will see what that turns out like. But yeah, it was really exciting to get that email.
Yeah.
I thought it was junk mail at first. A little surprised. But, and then I jumped around the room a little bit. Not going to lie.
So the tags, you can use them in the terrarium, you can use them for packaging.
Yeah, so again,
bouquets,
I think it's
anything.
just a great option. Or, you know, if this, maybe you wanted to do little terrariums as a centerpiece, whether it's polymer clay tag or just any tag, you know, yarn if you have around your house. I love the texture of yarn and all the color variations it comes in. So,
so cute.
yeah, and then just tying a little message on, and it can function as a centerpiece, and then also maybe the take-home favor for your guests.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, so...
again, really affordable.
And then I think, again, being creative with how you wrap things. Yarn is one of my favorite things, and Michael's has a great selection, Joann's, really anywhere. And so I just really go at it. I really like to go around and mix the colors and the textures. You know, if you have some wrap, I do another little belly band around, kind of poke the hole through the center so you can loop it a little differently than you might see elsewhere.
These are such great inspirations.
And this, like, I don't know what anyone would use this yarn for, but I loved it, so I just, again, just went after it and really
I love the
went for it.
combination of the really natural boxes or plain wrapping paper with the multiple ribbons and just the different textures and colors. Look at this, ladies. She wrapped it in yarn and then like a Christmas ornament or something.
Yeah.
Right?
So I found this. I'm not sure if maybe...
Save all those trimmings when you get
Yeah,
packages.
I
you can
do. When
reuse
I
it.
get presents, I save every little scrap of ribbon,
Yeah.
and I find a good use for it. Or baker's twine. It now comes in pretty much every color that you could imagine. I bought this on, I think it was Amazon, and I've had it for a year, and you would never know. And I use it all the time.
Yeah.
So
they come in the smaller ones.
yeah,
though,
you
too,
don't
right?
need that big. So
Little
that was a
minis.
little yellow one that I loved, and you know, coming up with fun uses. A little tassel, just essentially folded it over quite a few times, trimmed the end, and yeah, just
Hang that
a
on
cute
a
little thing you
package?
could hang on a package or off your terrarium or something like that too.
Great.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you, Lindsay.
Yeah,
That
thank
was
you,
very
guys.
inspiring. Yes? Okay.